Can hear the rumble and I can feel the excitement. For those of you that are new to Henry Ford College, and I don't see many new faces, but I'm sure there may be one or two. My name's Russ. I'm really excited to be your teammate. I have the honor to say hello to you at the beginning of each semester, and we call these the State of the College addresses. I've been here just a little more than 5.5 years, and we've somewhat changed the mode of operation for these states of the college. And the first thing I want to tell you, and I'm still talking to you as the new person here, and I'll very quickly transition to most of you who are not the new people here. But the one thing I want to invite you to do, whether you're new or not new, and I count myself in the not new, I won't say old, but not new category, is to give me feedback about how you value these coming together, these convenings. In the fall, we typically do a much more robust outline, or I do, of what's going on at the college, what's happened over the last year, what we expect to happen in the new year, and then we come together again here in January for what we call the State of the College in January. And over the last several, I've asked some folks that were a lot smarter than me to help me figure out a way to talk less in January, and that's something I need some help with sometimes. And so that's what you've noticed over the last few Januaries. And the best part of the last January State of the College that we had was that we turned at least a portion of, and my hope is more than half of our coming together, at least for this portion of our morning, into something called a community conversation, where I invite you and I encourage you to take the opportunity to say hello to each other. And I really do mean that, running around with a microphone so that you can say hello to each other, and also thank you and congratulations and anything else that you want to say to each other that is useful for us in kind of setting forth in a new semester as a team, feeling good about what we've got ahead of us, feeling proud about what we've accomplished over the last several months. And it is also, again, my attempt and my best effort to limit the amount of time you have to listen to me droning on talking to you. Now, one of the things I also like to do is invite the leaders of our institution, our elected trustees, to join us at these convenings. They're all very, very busy people, but very, very supportive of our college. And so every single time they have time to come be with us, they do come and join us. And I do want to identify two of our elected trustees, the chair of our board, Jim Thorpe, and Mary Petlichkoff, a longstanding member, both longstanding members of our board. You probably remember that we're really proud of the fact that we are an institution that shares our board with the third largest public school system in the state of Michigan. And you're probably, well, you may not be aware of one of the things that makes it such a useful and productive relationship is that we have by far the most amount of high school students in the state of Michigan attaining college credit while they're in high school. And it's not even close. This semester we're more than 2,500 students that are doing that. And the next closest is less than 2,000 students doing that. Now, I know that presents some challenges and great opportunities, but what I will tell you for those of you who work and enjoy the opportunity to be at Henry Ford College, there is a real financial benefit to that relationship. More than 20% of our enrollment comes from those types of students, and that's a result of the Board of Trustees that we have as our leaders, also being the leaders of the Dearborn Public Schools. I'm going to talk more about that in a bit. But on enrollment, which is what you know that I always give you an update on, I want to give you a bit of context, but first I want to say we're doing better than I hoped we would do right now for this winter term. And just for those of you that are new to this institution, we are overly reliant on enrollment to meet our budget as compared to other community colleges. There's a long history to that, and if you do have interest in that, I'd be happy to have lunch with you at 5101 or my office, and I mean that. Reach out, we'll have lunch, I'll talk to you about the budget. But about 50% of our revenue, the way we pay our bills, your salaries, the lights, your benefits, about half of that comes from what we charge students in tuition. That half of our revenue, that is higher than normal community colleges. And the best we've done on enrollment was right before the pandemic. In the preceding 8 years before the pandemic, we had been going down, and then we started to tick up. And we've been climbing, we started climbing, and then the pandemic took us down about 10%. And what I can tell you now is that after those 3 years of the pandemic, we've been watching the decline slowly start to level off, and I'm excited to tell you that I feel very confident that we've hit the basement of that decline, and the basement was about 9.5% down. And in the fall, we just got done, we leveled off. And if numbers hold for the winter, we may be starting to come back up from where we were at this time last year. So I know it's more numbers than probably some of you care about, but I see Brian Boehm there, and I want him to know that I know the numbers also. Brian is our budget director. Our goal is to have about 103,000 credit hours for the winter. I know that doesn't mean much to anyone, but I'll just tell you that right now we are above 103,000 credit hours. And that's a credit to the folks that are enrolling individuals, that are teaching individuals, telling them to come back. And I'll tell you that if we can creep just above 103,000, we'll be above where we were at this point last year. So that is a big victory. That is a big victory. Now, we've got a couple things we've got to accomplish before we can call that a victory. And by the way, do we have any Michigan fans okay. They clap for the Michigan, but not the enrollment. I'm working on them. The board chair is a Spartan, so that was a little bit risky for me to say. But I will say to you, yeah, okay. For context, when we were really humming about 4.5 years ago, the winter semester's highest that we've had in probably 20 years was about 114,000 credit hours. So we've got that to look up to, but just over the last 3 years, this winter semester we're doing better than we have over the last 3 years. And for the finish line for our race is in about 20 days. In about 20 days, we'll know what the final count will be for the winter semester. But I'm excited. I'm excited because I've been watching this, and I know that it's important, and I also know that it gives me a little bit of relief to do what I feel is my obligation, which is to bring to you a budget that supports all the great work you do, and that I'm very grateful the board has continued to support what we've been doing. A little bit of difficult news to share, and each time we come together, I share some of this. Those of you who knew James Knack, he was a trade and apprentice instructor, and it is our sad loss to have lost him very recently. And he was so devoted to the institution. After he retired, he was an adjunct instructor. Some of you may know the young lady there in the middle of this slide. Her name was Judy Coos, and she served, I think, a little bit more than a decade at the college and was a retiree, but also came back and helped take care of the executives in this building, which is one of the most difficult and impossible jobs there are. She was a funny lady, and I think she would be okay if I made the joke that taking care of those of us, I promise you, did not lead to any of her difficulties. In fact, she really enjoyed and came back to the college often and was very, very close to a person who I know you all know and trust, who was close to me, in Kathy Dimitriou. And then the picture on the right, there's a gentleman in the back waving his hand. His name is Keith Gaines. This comes from a video that I took. That's why my face is so big, and I wish it weren't the case. But this video was taken, I think, around 4, maybe 3 o'clock in the morning in March of 2020. And it was when we were all trying to figure out what was going to happen with the world, because the pandemic had set in. And remember when we were going through these strange things? We were going to kind of half close, and then we were going to wipe every single surface that any human being could ever touch down with some type of chemical that would kill any germs. And we just went through permutation after permutation of how our lives were going to change. And I didn't really know what to do as the president. Nobody gives you the training book of how to handle a 100-year pandemic when you're not an epidemiologist, and frankly, you don't have any experience with that. So the most that I thought I could do was go out to those that were still here on campus that were being told, you have to come to campus and you have to protect the rest of us. And I started working with the facilities crews, and I picked a third shift and just went to the supervisor of the third shift and said, hey, I'd like to work a third shift with one of your teammates. I didn't know Keith, but the supervisor gave me to Keith, and we spent several hours washing classrooms. That's basically the best way I can describe what Keith and I did. And there's a video on YouTube that this is a still shot of, and I was tired. I was frankly a lot scared about HFC and my job and being a good leader. And Keith was just the opposite. He was energetic. He was happy to be at Henry Ford College. He told me how he had been there for 15 years and that how this had been the best job he had ever had and that he was never going to retire because he loved what he had an opportunity to do. He talked to me about his mother. He said that if he had his druthers, he would live the rest of his life working at Henry Ford College. Those of you that, I suspect many of you were like me and never knew who Keith Gaines was, or that you never knew who the people were that came after us during the other side of the clock that did this kind of work. But you probably certainly didn't know that you had somebody who was just so excited about supporting what you all do, and so excited about what this college does, and so devoted to the institution that he said he was going to work here until he died. And I'm sorry that it happened. I could tell he was kind of sick 3 years ago, and he told me that, but he didn't tell me many details, so I didn't ask much. And it's a regrettable thing that he worked until he couldn't work. And that's the kind of people that we have here at Henry Ford College. So if you knew anyone who knew any of these people, please tell them that you hope to be an employee like them. And I think we've got some on the road. So I want to introduce you to, I don't know if these folks are here, and I'm going to read through 2 slides of these names. It takes a little bit of time, but I'm excited about it because I know that there are future Keith Gaines and Judy Kooses and James Knacks in this list. And if you are here, please stand when you hear your name, and then we'll get through both slides, and then we'll applaud for all the people who are standing. We have Ahmed Balawan, Lab Associate, Eric Baer, Max Bilodeau, Janine Bryant, Kanika Kane, Delphine Davis. I didn't see Delphine. Is Delphine here? She's not new. She's just in a new position. Good to see you. Happy New Year, Delphine. Samantha Elliott, Andrew Esley, Brandon Harris, Shannon Hasper, Charisma Hoskins. Is Charisma here? Okay. Angela Jones, Emma Joseph, Sarah Kiger. Is Sarah here? Did I say her last name correctly? Oh, really? She said impressed. I was going to say she's surprised. Nice to meet you. Congratulations and welcome to the team. Chelsea Lewis, Jeffrey Liggins, Mercedes Moore, Alicia Porter. Is Mercedes here? Moore? Miss Moore? Is she here? You're going to have to like say, yes, I'm here. Okay. I want to know how the food service team's doing over there. I know you guys are struggling with keeping people to come into those jobs, and I know those are hard jobs. And frankly, if you guys are enjoying what you're eating right now, when we applaud, I want you to applaud extra hard because these are the folks that are helping feed you this morning. Alicia Porter, Jean Vale, Frederica Wallace, Greg Ward, Luke Wojciechowski. Did I get that one, Luke? No, Wojciechowski. Oh, Wojo. Should I say that? I don't know if that's our retired Wojo's son. Is it? Okay. Well, his dad let me call him Wojo. So. Melissa Zamet. All right, so those of you that are new here or taking new jobs, I really mean it. I care about you. And if I have the chance to work a third shift washing classrooms with you or walking through the classroom with you or saying hello, please do say hello to me. and know that this is a special place to me, and you joining us is very special. So please join me in welcoming our new teammates. Thank you, thank you. One of the things as an academic institution that we're really excited about is granting our colleagues who have the very, very important and difficult and sometimes unheralded job of doing the teaching. When they do accomplish a milestone, we call that tenure, and I'm excited to say that we do have 3 of our colleagues who have achieved that rank. Richard Cieslak, Roger Frank, and Janelle Mills. Are any of you all here? I see Janelle over there, and if you haven't seen Janelle's new carpeting in the library, it's not hers, but she I mean, yes, we can say it's yours, and whoever else works there, it's yours. It is the epitome of a facelift by redoing the floors, maybe a floor lift. Of course, we have some retirees. I know some of them may not be here. Maybe they are. Thomas Berryman, Sophia Baydoun, Al Burrell, Kathy Demetriou, Nicholas Kusi, and then, of course, I think I saw Fred. Is Fred? Yeah, Fred is going to be retiring along with Marlene. Is Marlene here? All right, so Fred, you're the lone retiree, but Fred, I think I've lost count. Is it 28 years?
On January 31st, it'll be 35 years, 8 months, and 23 days.
I shortchanged you almost 9 years. Thank you, Fred and Marlene, for your dedicated service. And I'll just say one little story about Fred. If you haven't seen Fred at his desk, you should go by in the next 24 days because he's there in the facilities building. I'm not sure how long you've been at that desk, Fred, but I know I'm not going to guess years, but I know it's a long time. And this is a guy who's been responsible for handling how we purchase the goods and services that we have here at the Henry Ford College. And it's a pretty technical job. It's a pretty cloistered and sometimes looks like a lonely job. And the only time it doesn't get lonely is when Fred is before the Board of Trustees asking for them to approve $15,000 to $15 million of expenditures, and they'll ask the president, hey, well, what about the rotary spec on that girder? And I'll usually say, well, I think Fred Steiner can answer that question. And so if anything's ever been purchased in the last 35 years at Henry Ford College, Fred has had his fingerprints on it. So after this, if you've bought a pencil, a computer, or a building, or anything in between, please thank Fred on your way out. The next thing I want to talk to you about, and then I know it'll be hard to believe, but I'll be getting pretty close to the end of my presentation here. I'd like to do a little bit of bragging for you all. I do that a lot in the community, but I rarely get an opportunity to brag for you all. And the first thing I want to brag about is this Learn Forward agreement that we've started to develop. And there are many people who worked a lot on this. The Vice President of Legal Affairs, Amy Clark, worked hard on this. Rhonda DeLong did a lot of work trying to figure out how to elevate these types of agreements. But the truth is, the real hero of this is Michael Nealon. And here's what I asked Michael to try to accomplish, and here's what these 4 agreements do that I will tell you no other group of people sitting in a community college auditorium right now can say that they can do for their students. Only one community college in the state of Michigan can say this about one, and we can say about 4 of our partners. And it was all because I said to Michael, I've been hearing from students, and if you don't know Michael, for those of you who are new, he's the Vice President of Academic Affairs. He's sitting right here. And I said, Michael, I keep hearing from students, one of the big barriers that they have to transfer to 4-year degree institutions is that they have to ask for permission. And you all know from interacting with our students that there's a lot of our students that don't really like that whole idea, asking for permission, because unfortunately a lot of their lives where they've had to ask for permission, they've been told no, sometimes in kind of nasty ways. And higher ed, we're not always, at least we're getting better here at HFC, but higher ed generally has not always been so welcoming to those people who felt marginalized. And so I said, Michael, why don't we find an opportunity to talk to these institutions that want our students to transfer to them, that we can take that barrier away from our students and say that as long as they can perform academically at Henry Ford College, that they shouldn't have to ask for permission to get into the universities that offer the four-year degrees that are paths to better lives that we all know and endorse. And Michael, I mean, it must be 3 years we went at this. Three years we wouldn't even get an audience with the decision makers at the institutions. And Michael and I are pretty ambitious guys, very different people, but excellent teammates, and we share ambition. And because we couldn't get an audience, we thought, well, let's just increase the ask. And we said, well, here's what we're going to, not only do we want to have guaranteed admission for our students who academically perform at Henry Ford College, we don't want you to nickel and dime them for the credits they earned at Henry Ford College. We don't want them to have to negotiate with your academic affairs folks or your admission folks. We want them to be able to come and say, I have a diploma from Henry Ford College that equates to 60 credits, and we want all 60 of those credits to go devoted towards the four-year university bachelor's degree that you've now given us as guaranteed admission. And so we went at that for a while, and it took a long time, but then we finally broke through. And I've bragged to you about this on and on, but I bring this back to you again because now we're at 4. Now we're at 4 institutions that you can say to our students, if you accomplish an associate degree here, if you do well, and of course they do have to do well, they have to have an at least a modest grade point average, 2.5 in some of these, then you don't have to ask for permission to transfer to U of M Dearborn or Wayne State University or Davenport University and recently Eastern Michigan University. They'll automatically admit you, and you don't have to worry about those credits that you paid, in some instances $112 a credit hour. You don't have to worry about losing those and having to repurchase them at the university at $500 a credit hour. And these Learn Forward agreements, that's a Michaelism there, that there's 4 now, and then there's 4 in the word. There's 4 of these things, and no other institution in the state of Michigan can tell their students that they have that. And that's as a result of the hard work from many, many people. But frankly, if you ever want to see a black sedan late at night parked in this parking lot, it's Michael Nealon's. And it's because he worked and worked and worked and got your students the opportunity to have this. And I just want to say congratulations to Michael. So when he started knocking those down, I said, well, now here's the next step. We should find somebody who needs our students so badly they'll guarantee them jobs. And at that one, he was like, oh, you're crazy, Russ. You're crazy. But we went at that for now 2 years. And just recently we were able to accomplish that, which is also a first. We're aware of no other institution in the state of Michigan, 4-year, 2-year, private. We're aware of no other institution that can say to its students, and in this instance it's our nursing students, if you sign up and you commit to Corewell Health, which is the state's largest employer, they are going to meet you with not only a guarantee of a job if you can get through the curriculum here at Henry Ford College, additional money all the way up to $9,000 while you're here at Henry Ford College, and they're going to start helping you understand what the culture is at Corewell Health during your curriculum. And that was as a result, much like the Learn Forward, of us going to our external partners, Michael mostly, I was kind of on his coattails a bit, saying, we have what you need. You should invest in us. Let me introduce you to our instructors. Let me introduce you to our students. Let me introduce you to our board. And let me show you why you should invest in our students as something that is a pivotal need for you. And after 2 years of hearing another series of no's or no responses, just last month, we were able to come to the finish line with what you see there. You see there's a state rep there, there's the mayor of Dearborn, there's the lieutenant governor of Michigan. I see several board members. On the very left-hand side, you see Dr. Nealon smiling about as broad as anyone else except for the guy on the far right of the picture. But the most important thing is the nursing students, those nursing students sitting in the front row there. And this is the future of Henry Ford College. us going to employers and bragging about what we can deliver, and them making promises to us in return to get access to our students. The last thing I'm going to talk to you about, well, actually I have one more point of pride. For those of you who haven't seen this, because Rhonda and I, if you don't know Rhonda DeLong, she's the Vice President of Marketing Communications, and she and I have been blaring this from the rooftops. If we had a bat signal on top of the roof, we would put like a picture of Emmanuel and a Rhodes Scholar or something to say, we got a Rhodes Scholar from Henry Ford College, because that's what we did. This young man, if you haven't learned about this young man, he came from Mexico, enrolled in a high school near us, didn't know the English language, wanted to go to U of M, got told no, so he heard about this place called Henry Ford College, and through what I would invite you to do is to look at the Christmas video or the holiday video that I put out recently, because I took a couple snippets of this event you have a picture of, where Emmanuel came and talked to the Board of Trustees. He talked about the life-changing experience you all gave him. One of our fallen colleagues, Mike Dare, who was leading the honors program, gave him as a result of your work. And I mean, think about this. A young man who comes, can't speak the language from another country, and by the way, back then, 3 years ago, and it hasn't gotten a ton better, but 3 years ago, it wasn't a very inviting prospect to come from Mexico to the United States to try and get access to the American dream. But this young man had the audacity to do that, and then he got told no, except at Henry Ford College, where he got a chance to show his worth. And then after 2 years, he went on to the University of Michigan and had such a wonderful experience and such a successful experience there that he was invited to apply to be a Rhodes Scholar, and went through that process and was selected as a Rhodes Scholar. And now, soon, will be on his way to Oxford. And if you're wondering, we are making sure he is a graduate of Henry Ford College. And this is the kind of story, I mean, within 3 years, this is the kind of story that we're talking about, that you all, the differences you can make. And my plan is to continue to highlight Emmanuel as one of the examples. But that's just one example of the things that over the next several months in this semester, just think about who's the next Emmanuel that you're sitting in front of. Who is the student that when they don't know what to do, or they're scared, or they're out of money, or they're out of luck, and I know that most of you know this. Please don't take this as me saying, you know, you should think about, I know you think about this. I know you wake up in the morning and you think about who's the next Emmanuel. I want you to know that I'm in love with the idea that it's you sitting in front of the next Emmanuel. I want you to know that all these vice presidents and trustees are the ones cheering for you, because we know that when you get up and you come to this institution, this is the outcome that you will make. And we know that if we keep doing that, these are the type of citizens that are going to change the world. These are the types of people who, when we invest in them, they are the only bright spots in a very dark world right now. And these are the type of people I want you to talk about when you start thinking about what's going to happen in 2 months. Because Emmanuel's outcome is not free. Your time is not free. Your time has value. This college has value, and about $16 million of the $100 million we spend to turn the lights on and pay for your salaries and sweep the streets and all the other things that Keith Gaines and I did in the third shift and that Emmanuel got from this college, all of that requires the endorsement of our voters. And our voters are the citizens of Dearborn. And so I need you to know that the Board of Trustees has elected to allow us to ask the voters to renew the 4 mills. And I know that that may sound strange, but let me just break it down to the base level. We asked the voters to give us some of their tax dollars, and they had the right to say yes or no on a given period of time. And now that question is up. We're asking for the same amount of money that we've been taking in since I've been the president, and we're asking them to say yes to that or no to that on February 27th. But as you've probably read, we've changed the way we've done elections, so early voting will start in a little bit less than 3 weeks. Oh, wait a minute. Yeah, a little less than 3 weeks. Now, as employees of the college, there are laws that restrict what we can say and do about this. That sounds a little more intimidating, but it's pretty simple. If you're being paid by the college to do work at a given time, which I am now, I am on the clock, so to speak, then it is illegal for me to say, you should go vote yes, or you should vote no. That's advocacy. You can't advocate when you're working for Henry Ford College. But when you're not working, and you take vacation, which is what I do when I want to advocate, because then I have the right as a citizen to say, I think you should vote yes, or I think you should vote no. That's advocacy. And I will encourage you to take part in either or both. If you want to do information, please ask me and I'll help you get the information out where it is strictly information, which is basically what's on this sheet and more information. And you should talk to voters. Here's what the money's for. Here's what we do with it. If you want to advocate, we have colleagues who are working on the advocacy campaign, and they are doing it off of the time when the Henry Ford College is paying their salaries, and I will connect you to those. And by the way, when I take time away from the college, I also will be advocating. One of the things we want to tell the people who are going to be asking, oh, what's this money for? Well, $16 million a year is a lot of money. It's almost 20% of our budget, but a lot of that, and most of that, would be going towards the operation of this college. And the operation of this college is a tight budget. The reason I can tell you that is because we do not have a lot of fluff in this budget. Over 75% of what we spend goes to supporting students, paying salaries, and benefits. If you're running a for-profit business, if you have your human capital cost that high, you have very little level for profit. Those of business instructors know that if your human capital cost is north of 70%, you're going to be out of business. Well, guess what? We're not a for-profit institution. We want to throw money into the students and into the people who help students. So I need you to know that the majority of this $16 million will go to continue to invest in 35-year employees like Fred, at least for another 3 weeks, and new employees like Miss, I'm not going to try the name again. Say it one more time. Kiger? All right, Miss Kiger, who's going to do 35 years like Fred. I sounded about like a sentence, didn't it, Fred? Who's going to enjoy 35 years. But a very small portion of that $16 million is going to go to put a new building on this campus. And it's in the circle where this map is being shown. We definitely need a new liberal arts building. That building, which is just to the left of that red circle, is so old that we need to replace it. And we're going to take what John Setkowski and I have tried to do, which is cobble together enough money to replace that old liberal arts building with a new Southeast Michigan Student Success Center, and a very small, 1/8 of the millage that we are asking to renew will be used to borrow money to do that construction. And in addition to that, we're going to use $10 million that the state of Michigan gave us on prospect, on a promise that we would try to do this. And we will soon be announcing a grant from the County of Wayne. And as I mentioned, the Chief Financial Officer, John Setkowski, and I have been trying to put together enough money to supplement all those monies coming from outside of the institution. So if you get asked what this is for, it is for operating the college, it is for upgrading a long-needed replacement for a liberal arts building, and for those of you who work in the Welcome Center, it'll also allow us to move the majority of the employees from the Welcome Center to this location, the SEMC. I call it the SEMC, and you know, I will acknowledge that acronyms aren't my best, but I had to give it to the legislators all last summer, and I had to have something that would stick in their mind, so I came up with SEMC. And it worked to the tune of $10 million, so I'm sticking with it. But the goal here is to move all the Welcome Center staff over to the SEMC, where people could come in from Evergreen. You can see on the right-hand side of this picture, that's Evergreen. And we want to have a curbside appeal to students who come and see our institution and walk right in there and have a Welcome Center right there on Evergreen. And some of the Welcome Center staff would then come also into where the early college is, below the library. And our attempt would also be then to sell the remainder of the Welcome Center that you all Welcome Center staff had vacated to the P12, where we could take that and make it the early college. So all the early college students would move from the basement of the library over to a proper early college campus. Those three moving parts, a new Student Success Center, moving Welcome Center staff over, and then moving early college to what is now the Welcome Center. Those moving parts are predicated upon a millage being renewed. And the last part about this proposal that I really am excited about is that it says campus quad there. That would be an open green area that would lead to us being able to have commencements in May on our campus, outside. You can kind of envision in your mind as you're standing looking at the liberal arts building now, if you kind of evaporated it, you would see the John McDonald Student Center, and the earth slopes down there, and we would have an amphitheater out there. Questions about that I know will be, how much does it cost and how long will it take? And Fred, I can't get it done by the time you're going to retire at the end of the month. But I've been working on it, I promise. We may call you back to tell us how much it's going to cost, though. We're thinking that we can start demolition, hopefully within 2024, and hopefully construction done by 2025. As you might imagine, I'm not a very patient person, and my hope is that by the summer that we're starting to deconstruct the liberal arts building. And I know that also generates questions about where your classes, if you teach them in that building, where they be. I've been in conversation with both the collective bargaining units and the facilities departments. I have some ideas that I'm not ready to share yet, but I do understand that you all have a lot of questions about that. But just bear with me on that, because we first have to get through the millage at the end of February. I'm going to take your questions now, and then we're going to do the community conversation portion of this. Trustee Petlicoff, I'm sorry I went over time. When I'm bragging about everybody, it takes me a little bit of time. Trustee Petlicoff said, you got 30 minutes. But so let me take questions about anything I've talked about now. I did ask some of my teammates, if you haven't met Lamar, he's not exactly brand new, but he's pretty close to new. He's going to run around with a microphone. And I think that's what he's promised. He's like, I really do want to move up and down the stairs. And I know he can do it because, I don't know if you've known, but Lamar and I have been going to high schools explaining why Henry Ford College is the right place to be. And we've been in a lot, we've targeted, we have one over here. We've targeted high schools where they'll help one of our goals, which is to increase the enrollment by African Americans and Latinx students. And so Lamar and I are often in these high schools. And I've seen him try to get up and down the aisles, is what I'm telling you.
Hello?
Yes. We'll start with some questions. And by the way, if we run out of questions, that's fine. We can go to the community conversation part, and I'll just really quickly remind you what the community conversations part of it is.
Hi, my name's Janelle. I'm a librarian. Could you talk a little bit more about how this new SEMC building will affect the staff that are currently in the K building now, and how this will affect the library in terms of placement and where they will live?
Yes, I can promise you I'm not taking the new carpet out of the library.
Are you taking the librarians out of the library? That's our biggest concern.
I appreciate
we like where
the
we
question.
live.
So the schematic I've drawn here is not set in stone. It is the one anchor part. There's two parts of it that are, I don't want to say set in stone, but are moving in that direction. The first is the new liberal arts building. The second is, you'll see the absence of the old liberal arts building. Everything else here is open to, and frankly, those two parts are kind of open, but we can't really go forward with this project without just raising the old liberal arts building and having a new liberal arts building. But how we use the library, you can see, Janelle, there's what I hope is an elevated bridge that says welcome right there. The academic support, which is currently where the basement is the early college, that's all open to planning and frankly costs, because we costed this project out 2 years ago when I started hunting for the money at $65 million. As you probably have seen, costs of things have changed and they haven't gone in the right direction, at least if you're trying to build a new building. So we're now at about $85 million. My view is that that number will also continue to change, and that'll change what we do with this other space. But what I gave you today was my, the things that I really want to accomplish. A new liberal arts building, an open commons in the center of campus, an opportunity to move Welcome Center staff to a place where students come off of the front door into a Welcome Center, and an opportunity to give the early college, which is a place we continue to grow and is space limited, the space to grow. From there, I don't have much details to give you, but I respect and understand why you have the question, because there's no way that any of this doesn't impact your workplace. Good news is that you can come back to me after February when we learn what the voters think about this plan to say, now what?
Hello.
Hi, Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. I am wondering what the plan is for faculty to be, or users of these spaces, like to be included in the decision making, because it feels like a lot of times decisions are made by people who are well intended, but who aren't on the ground in the classroom. And so sometimes decisions are made that are not very user friendly. Which isn't because of bad intent, but just because of an oversight. So I'm wondering what the plan is to include faculty in that so that we're able to teach in the conditions that we need.
Yeah, I think you should expect, you should have, I can commit to you that you will not wake up and see an email that says, you're now working in the Fairlane Mall. I'm making up a hyperbole because I want to show you I hear your question. I've already started talking with President Rader of 1650, who, as you know, is very interested in this. Frankly, what I think very likely will happen is that Dean Romans, who's sitting right in front of you, Michael Nealon, Eric Rader, folks like that will be sitting and saying, okay, we're actually doing this. We're going to tear this building down. Where should we put these classrooms? Do we want to, what are the options? And Chelsea, I can't tell you that I think my voice at that place will be very useful, but I will make sure that you will have an avenue through any of those types of people to have a voice in that. Steve, you were hiding in the shadows. I couldn't tell you. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. I noticed that there's two little squares on the east end of the fine arts, and I wonder what they are.
I had to walk up there to look, Steve. My eyes are, this job has done a number to my eyes. I want to tell you a joke about something else on that front too, but the words say outdoor studio. I don't know if that's accurate or not, but I'll tell you how we generated this map. I needed to show legislators what we were going to do if they started to fund this project. And I needed to have the two main parts be the SEMC and the campus quad. And what I believe happened, and I paid an architect to do this, what I believe the architect did was some type of process whereby they tried to replicate everything that is not the SEMC and the campus quad that exists today. So it may be wrong, there may not be outdoor studios there, but I can tell you that's not part of my plan. It is what was simply what the rendition came back from the architect. So if that's wrong, Steve, let me know and I'll either cut those out or I just want you to know.
I was curious because I had showed something to Michael Nealon a couple of years ago that was almost identical to that.
Oh, okay. Well, I can't commit to you anything other than I don't know.
Okay.
Steve, I said my eyes were bad. Somebody asked me to make a speech, and they asked for a headshot of me, and I was with the cabinet. And the person said, "Is the headshot updated?" And it was taken 5.5 years ago, Steve. And there's a cabinet member. We went and said, "Yeah, you know, 5.5 years on this job, you might need a new headshot." And I know my eyes are different. Where's the microphone now? Hey, Dr. Rader, the president of AFT Local 1650. Oh, by the way, let me do another introduction. Sorry, Eric. Stand up, Joni. President Joni Morris was recently reelected as president of SSA. Well, congratulate her, please. All right, sorry, Dr. Rader.
No, that's all right. And I know Lynn Bose is here too, and Joe Zitnick, who are also my colleagues as union leaders. President Cavalluna mentioned the advocacy campaign. I guess I'm on the clock, so I can't advocate either right now. But the unions are going to be organizing, as we always have. Local 1650 and the other unions are leading the advocacy efforts. So you can reach out to us anytime, and we can tell you about our plans for advocating on this millage. So, and I think you can imagine which way we're advocating. So more on the Y side, not on the N side. So, all right, that's all.
Thank you, Dr. Rader. And Dr. Rader, he identified President Zidnick of Local 71. Where's Dr. Boza? There's Dr. Boza of AFO and Mike Hill, chairman of the Faculty Senate. Sorry, Mike, I was looking elsewhere. Good morning, Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. My question is about things that are currently housed in the K building, such as the Honors Hub, and where will that potentially go in addition to the classes and offices that are in K as well?
Great question. One thing that you'll see in this diagram here is that it also eliminates the old administration building, which is where a lot of faculty offices are. It's where President Rader's office with 1650 is. And the goal here at this point is to make the SEMC a multi-storied building that would be able to accomplish the space we have now. The only thing that would get in the way with that would be the costs. The Honors Hub was something that was a difficult decision to make because in my eyes, even before you came, I wanted K down. And we needed a good spot for the Honors Hub, and so we made a decision to invest and make it a really great spot. And we announced the new leader of Honors? For those of you who don't know, our colleague and friend, Chardon Claiborne, has graciously accepted the leadership role of the Honors program. So that Honors Hub, we put a lot of money. If you haven't gone in there, please go see Chardon there. It's a great space. It's a place where in Emmanuel, the Rhodes Scholar didn't get to benefit from that, and we're going to try and pipe through more Emmanuels in a better space. So what I can tell you is we can't pick up that little room and move it before we tear down that building. So we'll have to replicate it, and that's my goal.
So since the new building is not going to be built on the site of the K building, would it be possible to not tear down the K building until the new building is built? That seems like that would solve a lot of problems.
Yeah, that's one of the things we're thinking about. Excuse me. The question there will have to be how we do the construction. If you do the construction with one construction manager who wants to do those differently, or if you do them separately. But that is an option. I'll just tell you another option is the University of Michigan has a campus right behind the old Fairlane Club. I don't know if you've been there. It's right down Hubbard, and it's nearly vacant. And it's a nicely furnished space that's built and made for the academic mission that mirrors ours, which would be another option, and pretty close. But again, I recognize and understand why John and Chelsea and others are really interested in where the heck am I going to get to do my work and where am I going to put my stuff down when I'm not teaching. I don't have answers for that yet, but I promise you'll have opportunity to say what you think about what our options are. And the bottom option, and I don't even want to really bring it up, but I'm trying to avoid the trailer classrooms. No one wants those, including me. Last year I kind of called this shout-outs. If anybody wanted to say, hey, I don't know if you know this, Russ, is that Dean Gilliland coming to make a shout-out? Okay. She remembers, so you can kind of see, she'll give a template of it.
Good morning, everybody. I just wanted to add to the list of faculty who have achieved tenure, 2 people in chemistry. Chuck Irish completed tenure in December 2023. Chuck is here. And Dr. Amy Pate completed tenure also in the chemistry department. I didn't see Amy.
There was another name up there, and it's not your fault that he's not up there, but I want to acknowledge our math colleague, Jeff Morford, who retired as of yesterday, and he is no longer in our ranks. He would be over there next to Scott and Larry, and so Jeff was a long time. He was here almost 25 years. He was a longtime leader in Local 1650, was actually the interim president in the period after John McDonald died 2 years ago. And just somebody we're all going to miss. I'm going to miss him enormously. He's been on our negotiating team for longer than I've been on it. So, but Jeff kind of quietly left us and is enjoying retirement now as of today. And so I wanted to acknowledge his retirement. Local 1650 is going to honor him later in the semester, but I wanted to acknowledge that here as well. So.
Yeah, Jeff will be missed. I'm Scott Still from English. He was also, he and Larry were two of the first folks I met here when I joined the full-time ranks. And so we wish Jeff well. We had a great time at the pizza party, if you were there, bidding him adieu. I wanted to give a shout out to our very own Dean, Brad Romans, though. We just acknowledged that Chardon Claiborne will be taking over the honors program director position. Brad just joined us, for those of you who don't know, pretty recently as our dean, and was on a very steep learning curve to begin with, and then was thrown into the deep end by also assuming the duties of the honors program director and almost overnight, essentially. And he did a yeoman's job, and I just want to give him a shout out for his guidance and leadership in that regard.
My name is Cynthia Anderson. I'm part of the counseling department. I'd just like to give a shout out to my boss, Dr. Brenda Hildreth. I'd like to say that she is one of those that does therapeutic services with those that are having mental health issues, having behavioral issues. The first person they call is Dr. Hildreth. She drops what she's doing and she goes over and she handles those students that are having issues. So I'd just like to give a shout out to you, Dr. Brenda Hildreth.
Well, I want to give a shout out to someone who is under-recognized most of the time and who is unable to videotape himself because he's behind the camera. Paul Minucci is fantastic to work with. Thank you, Paul, for all your work. One of the fantastic things about Paul that you may not know is he has many duties at the college. He supports all of you academics in the classroom with technology, and he's fantastic with technology. And when we have these kinds of events, I often forget to ask Paul if he'll come and record the events and set up the audio and set up the computers, et cetera, until like kind of the last minute, and I feel like I should just put in a standing request with Paul. But anyway, every one of these events that you've seen that we have photos of and that have been public events are largely supported specifically and only by Paul, and Paul actually helped me set up the Corwell backdrop on the day of that event. Fantastic extra support. Thank you again, Paul.
I'd like to give a shout out to a young lady that started out as a student ambassador for admissions and recruitment, and from a different country. She started out, she got her associate's degree. From there, she transferred to Eastern University and got her bachelor's degree. And before Christmas, she graduated with her master's degree. I am so proud to see how she made her pathway work. Her name is Sulian Larman.
We had various ideas, and this idea was, letting people do shout-outs to each other. Remember last year I bribed you with gift cards? So this year I was like, let's see if they can do this without gift cards. And you've met the task. This is so fantastic. I'm excited to be with you. I appreciate you playing along with this. I want it to feel important, but also good to work here. And I hope you feel that way, because I do. And if there's anything I can do to make either of those things more a reality, please let me know. Dr. Hill, I will...
One more thing, Russ.
Oh.
We cannot forget, everybody, let us give a huge round of applause to Bruce Wall and his team for the fantastic food this morning.
We'll, for those of you staying for that event, I'll see you at 10:10. The rest of you have a wonderful semester. Good to see you. Let's go and have a great semester. Take care.